Hello and welcome to this session where we'll be reviewing the Program Analyst component of the AutoScholar Advisor system. So we'll start off with logging in using our institution credentials as usual. And we also enter the academic program code that we wish to review and analyze. And we specify a year, and I'll explain what that year will do in a few seconds. There's the Do Anonymize option, which you will have recognized from the Course View Connect part. So if we turn that on to true, then that's going to hash the student names and student numbers. And that you would use if you are just presenting the AutoScholar to someone, or you are using it in a place where you don't want anyone to see the actual student names and student numbers. So we click Connect, and then the system will load up, and it's loaded a lot of data in the background, and the analysis is presented here. So on this interface, you'll see there are other sections to this Program Analyst, and we'll just be looking at the population analysis today. So in this section, under Program Selector, you can change the academic program code that you review, and you can change the year here. So to explain this year, it's not exactly a cohort. When you select a year, it's going to load up all the students that are registered for this academic program in this year. So that will include students who registered for the first time some years ago. So in this group, you'll have first year students, second year students, and as many years as there are in the program. In fact, more, because of course some students take more time. So when you enter a year, you are basically taking a cross-section of or a snapshot of all the students currently registered in that year, and then the system is going to look for that group of students, all the courses that they ever took in that academic program. So while they were registered for this academic program, what courses did they register for, and then what insights can we glean from there. And so that's why you might notice that you have a large number of students for the earlier years. So the year one students, almost 400 students, and then year two, and if you look at the analysis for the later years, smaller numbers of students. So that's because if you select a particular year, then all those students in that year, all the students registered in that program in that year, have done their first year, and then a smaller number of those will have done second year, and so on. So by the time you get to fourth year, then you are only looking at all the students currently registered for fourth year, and that will be smaller than the number of students in the program who had who had completed first year. So that's the cross section. It's the population of students who are currently registered in the program. And so if you change any of these and click Analyze, it will reload the page with analysis for those specs. So that's under the Program Selector. Then you'll notice here on the right, you've got the Gatekeeper courses. So it's picking up all the courses that are taken earlier on in the program, and where the students take more times, or they have to take more attempts to pass that course. So for example, here it takes 1.5 times for a student to pass this course, and so on. So 1.85, so that's a large number of times before you pass this course. And so that's an indicator that this is a gatekeeper course. This is not to say that these are all the courses where students take extra time, but these are core courses. So the program has gone ahead and figured out which courses are core, which are core elective, and which are free elective. And it's doing this without such information having to be encoded in the database or by the user. So it's looking at all the student registrations and working out which are in those categories. So it's figured out these courses are the ones that are core and where it takes more time to pass, and so these are possible gatekeeper courses. And by gatekeeper, that's meant in the negative sense. It's not the kind of gatekeeper that grants you access. It's the gatekeeper that limits your attempts to pass through the gate. And then under gatekeeper impacted courses, these are courses where the students are entering the course later than they should be. So the system has worked out where each course is supposed to lie in the academic program, which means is this a third year course or a fourth year course, or is it supposed to be a third year course or a fourth year course? And then in what year of their academic study are the students actually undertaking that course? So it's worked out that this is supposed to be a fourth year course, but most students are only taking it in the fifth year. So that's why it highlights it as a possible gatekeeper issue. So that's a gatekeeper impacted course. And by the way, if you click on any course here, it loads up some information on the left-hand side. So under course information, it tells you a bit more about that course. It tells you the number of, but in what year most students are attempting it, and so there's a little more information on this side. And then going further, if you scroll down here to course information, this is showing us all the courses that are undertaken by all the students in this cross-section. So remember, we said it's not a cohort, it's a cross-section of all students in that academic program in that year. And it's looking at all the courses that those students registered for while they were registered for this program. And so some of these are free electives, and you can see here with one student, the system is struggling to give us a meaningful mean. But anyway, for others, so you've got a core here, free elective. So if you click on that, it's giving us a bit more information there. And so you can just browse through all the courses undertaken by the students on this side. So that's general course information, whereas this shows us the gatekeeper, the early courses limiting progression, and this is showing us courses that are possibly impacted by the gatekeepers. And by the way, this is useful in its own right. It doesn't matter whether these courses really have been impacted by the gatekeeper courses. It's just useful to know that students are undertaking these courses in years later than they should be taking them. And this may also point to curriculum issues. So our design of the curriculum might need some revision if we know that a course is actually only ever passed in a later year. So it's some balance between the two, knowing what's a performance issue and what's a curriculum issue. And there are other AutoScholar components for working on curriculum. So anyway, that's on the course side. And then we talked about course information, and now I want to go to underperforming students. So we saw earlier, in an earlier video, we saw how to estimate at-risk students in the context of a single course. So inside a single course, you can look at how students are performing on the individual assessments, and it has an alerting system, so it counts up the number of alerts and it shows you which students are at risk of failing that course. So inside one course, that's fine, but inside an academic program, we want to look across all the courses and look at which students are taking more time to complete courses or who are underperforming and getting low means in the courses. So that's what this section is. And by the way, you can see here this is hashed. That's because we turned on anonymization. So of course, we didn't want to disclose anything about the students in this video, because this is all real data. This is taken from an actual academic program. So as you select a student, it's showing you more information about that student here. So, but the important bit is the comment here. So it's saying this student has been registered for 11 semesters. So even that is significant, given that this program is a 4-year program. And it says here for the student is taking an unusually low number of core course credits. So you typically see this behavior when a student is trying to stay within the progression rules. So there might be some rule that a student is supposed to pass a certain number of credits each semester, and so to remain on the right side of that rule, sometimes students will go and take courses that don't actually progress their degree, but which count to their total credits in a semester. And so this is an attempt to identify that kind of behavior. So it will flag for you students that are taking courses just to stay inside the progression rules. And then another type of alert is if a student is passing a low number of credits in a semester. So the student is only passing on average 36 credits in one semester, which is quite low. You can see the student has taken many semesters, so that indicates a slow progression student. So you see then you can also, if you click on any student, you get more information about that student. So there's biographical information here. And again, you can see I've masked out all these, the student number, the name, the birth date as well, because you could easily use that to identify a student. And then you really have to know about a student to use any of the other information. But you can get information, some biographical information about that student. And then you can look at the progression also. So how many semesters was the student there? How many credits attempted? What was the mean mark? So the credit weighted mark. And then also the actual results for each semester that student has been there. So there's quite a lot of information here on the left. And so you can really identify issues with your student in this way. Right, so that's the population analysis part of the program analysis, ProgrammeAnalyst. And so this is a more accurate name. It's if you are from the field of population dynamics, we typically call this the original population. So given a specific time, we look at all the students that are, or all the entities that are in the system at that time. There's also what's called the fresh population, so the incoming students as well, which is not what we are looking at here. Okay, so I hope that's useful in understanding our academic programs and looking at which courses are gatekeeping the progression. So this is intended for us to identify the regions that should receive more of the resources. So in terms of our coursework, we might want to allocate more tutors, and there might be more support activities like supplemental instruction and so on. So this helps us identify which courses would benefit from that. And then in terms of students also, we might want to contact these students and reach out to them and advise them to engage with the counseling options available, so whether it's academic counseling or other types of counseling. So this section in the ProgrammeAnalyst helps us figure out where to direct such attention.